Welcome back to the Modern Hippie Podcast. I am joined today by one of my favorite guests, one of my dear friends and mentor, Hamilton Souther, who is an author, a coach, founder of Blue Morpho Ayahuasca. He is a master shaman and someone whom I hold near and dear with so much gratitude and respect for having sat with you with ayahuasca in Peru so many times for joining me today.
Thank you. How's it going? What have you been up to?
This is your interview, but I get feedback from people a lot who are like, did Hamilton come on your podcast to interview you? And they're like, oh, no. But we can start with speaking of the Buddha behind your shoulder. I've been getting some big Buddha downloads lately. And I know you've worked
Buddha.
a lot.
How's Buddha these days?
Buddha's wild. I was doing ketamine and cannabis, which is one of my new favorite combinations to work with. And in that was guided through a style of breath that I'm developing that's turning into a healing method that I'm developing, but it's rooted in deep breaths into the belly, as well as this humming that ultimately could really be attributed to the sound Om. And there's enough times that you can chant Om where all of a suddenly the knowledge of the Buddha unlocks.
Mm-hmm.
And in chanting it enough times, it would wind me up into these positions that were almost like a series of physical movements I had to hit in order to, put the right piece in place to allow for the unlocking. And then once I was in position, it was like, boom, the temple opened. Here's all the knowledge of the Buddha, all the knowledge of all the divine masters who came before him, and like the path of enlightenment and the path of the Matrayana that we've been learning with Dr. John. And what has your experience been like with the Buddhas?
Similar. I found that when you combine like really strong plant medicine and bring in Om and have that intention to awaken the core energy of the body, everything that those teachers were teaching just becomes real. It's immediate and fantastic and powerful. And the energy centers, I think one of the really nice things is that often it's hard to have the real experiences of that. So we meditate and we try to connect and we, try to have it. And then all of a sudden, this is real. It's happening. The chakras are real. The colors associated with them are real. Your auric field's real. The energy of the body's real. The third eye's real. The crown opens up and there's so much more going on than what we were aware of before. And so I think that's the first part of it. And the idea that, these are just great spiritual teachers to be worshipped, or, people relate to the statues and the effigies. In these kinds of visionary experiences, the interaction with them becomes personal and their energy's there and it's co-interactive and there's a communication that takes place. And some of it's just self-reflective in their presence. Like you can, call them forward and their presence is felt. And then you can realize like, I need more compassion, or, I need some other aspects of their teachings or more centeredness, or I need to calm the mind. And I've, also been working with them really strongly in the last months and especially over the last year, and powerful, really powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's always one of my favorite moments in your ceremonies when you get to the Om Ikaro, where you hit these deep belly Oms that my little female voice can't quite get low enough.
You got to go higher than that, right? We got to harmonize in the many frequencies of the Om. I'm going to hold the Om down here and bring that. And then there's all this room for all these other frequencies of Om. And we can do it together. And the same thing in the duration, like not everyone has the same lung capacity. So Om to the frequency that you can and to where it's most harmonious for you. And I think the thing is to allow the throat to really relax and get into this very innate, just truthful vibration. It's just what comes forth out of you, right? It's that deep universe that you are coming out in this sound. And, and there will be enough people to have the rhythm, duration, just continue, so it can kind of go in its own waves. And I'll continue to try to hold space with it. I find in ceremony, when it's like that, often we'll during onset. And so we'll have gone through about half of onset. And onset in ayahuasca can take a long time. It's not always just so fast. Like, a lot of people think onset, oh man, hit me like a freight train. No, onset can really take quite a while sometimes. And so about halfway through an hour and a half of onset, I like to bring in the ohms as a kind of centering, a kind of purification. And it's also great because it allows for group participation in the making of the sound, which can help open up the energy here. And at that point, usually I think it's probably 20 or 30 minutes of ohms is what we usually do. And that's a long time if you just start ohming right now and, you keep going. You'll feel the aberrations in vibration. You'll feel what's getting tweaked, what's kind of brought into alignment, different aspects of the body adjusting. And then all of a sudden the ohm just gets deeper and deeper, and it's easier to do and goes into a flow state. And then this tremendous expansion and awakening of consciousness happens. And then the lights all turn on. Time to move into the rainbows.
Well, you just completely described my experience. And so like literally in exact detail of how it happened for me, this download of and I think being in the medicine space made me a bit more resilient to continue chanting and humming, because as I'd feel different, like you just said, different parts of the body aligning, different muscles relaxing, different vertebrae clicking in place.
Mm.
And as I hit about that 20 or 30 minute mark, then it was like the vocal cords are warmed. Now they're expanding. Now the ohm is deep. The ohm can go high. I learned to make multiple sounds at once as well to really, it's not quite harmonic chanting yet, but I'm getting into a little bit of the overtone, multiple sounds. And then it almost acts as like the ohm is the vibration that allows the body to click in place, but the second sound is like the frequency that kind of can laser in more specifically where the intention is to work. And then I got to see the medicine took me on an epic quest of checkpoints at each chakra, of almost like a moral compass that I had to pass at each one. And then it would click into place. And I felt this massive shift in my heart chakra as it moved. It was out of place, moved back to center. And same with my throat. And then I got to see the Kundalini rise. I got to see the gold and the white snake rise up to the top of my head and see my entire light body, which even as an energy worker, I was much more sensory, feeling based. So to see it was just so eye-opening and reminded me of
Mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling that's real. First of all, that's real. That's not an artist's rendition. That's actually something factual, and it's happening through us. And just incredible to have that experience.
I'm having a lot of really big unlockings right now that are completely changing how I sit in the world, and I'm very grateful for those. And part of that I can attribute to being in your Blue Morpho Academy. I'm in the mystery school with you. And so that's something that you launched this year. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, mystery school is discovering and exploring the great mystery of you. So often we want to, go into beyond you, but we go into you, and then from you, we go into the rest of the mystery of the universe. And we meet every week. Every month, there's 2 ceremonies that we participate in together, virtually or in person for those that are in person, but also virtually for those who aren't in person. And we have 2 lectures. And I think the real beauty of it is the opportunity to have shared and common intention between everybody, having this exploration and just going into these incredible mysteries. I think everything's mysterious about the universe. I think we've normalized a lot about our culture and our daily life, but really, if you step back and take a bigger look at it, everything is a mystery. Like, we don't know where the earth came from. We don't know where the universe came from. We don't know where how we really evolved. We don't really yet know the true origins of life, etc. So there's all these theories going around that people have, and they frame themselves in their theories. And we're unlocking the theories and going into the mystery itself, and doing so through expanded states of consciousness, learning how to use plant medicines, learning how to use them safely, learning how to go deep in them and not be scared, and how to do that in community and be supported by really amazing people and the relationships that we form.
Hmm. And one of the core things that you teach there is a belief system, a structure for how to create safe boundaries that you created called sanctuary. Let's talk about sanctuary, because I think one of the core foundations of sanctuary, which I implement everywhere, is that what you believe is true. And so part of sanctuary being incredibly effective is the depth of knowledge and understanding of the truth of its existence. So tell me about sanctuary.
Sanctuary was development over many years looking to an answer of a core problem, which is how can we be safe in this universe? And how can we be safe here of Earth? And how can we be safe in community and safe in family and safe in ourselves? And how can we have these amazing plant medicine experiences safely? How can the psychonauts explore in a state of safety and still be able to have the magnificence of their exploration? And so sanctuary is by definition a refuge, a place of safety for us. And I explored through vision in the universe for a long time to figure out how we could actually construct it. And it brought it ultimately down into 4 tenets or 4 core ideas. And so the first idea is that source, universe, and God is in, through, and all around everything. Just it's pervasive, it permeates everything. And it's not isolated or separate or different from the rest of the universe or the rest of us. And it includes the matter, it includes everything that we study in science. It's inclusive of everything. In fact, it would be impossible to separate from it. We can act like it, we can use words about it, but it's impossible to separate from source. We're made of source. We are source in our own right, and source is also everything and everything else. And so that's the first concept. And the second is that source is the infinite eternal. It doesn't need to be more or less than that. Once we know that source is infinite and eternal, that it's going to be here forever, and we're going to be part of it forever. And so it's important that it isn't something that's temporal, that could somehow disappear or go away, but that source, universe, God is something that is a creative force, a creative presence of this universe. And it's how there even is a universe, and it's how there's an earth, and it's how there's an us. And that's great because that helps us transcend all separation in our philosophy and our ideas and understandings of source. Now, source is with us. It's through us. It's in us. It's around us. We can journey as big as we want, and we can be protected and present with source however we want. But we also can look at the world and say, but the world isn't all okay. And there's a lot going on out there with different kinds of wars and conflicts and problems, etc. So, if source is in, through, and all around everything, and it's everywhere, it's also part of that negative stuff that's going on too. And so the third tenet is where we say we don't want to create that way. We don't want to create negative, painful, suffering things. We want to create a sanctuary for us. So how would we do that with source? If we could co-create with source, if we could co-create the universe, if we could, make it a huge, beautiful painting of consciousness, what would that look like? And so I came up with the idea of 5 principles. It's self-healing. The space is healing for us. It's harmonizing. The space helps us harmonize with all energies. It balances us. We stay in a state of balance. It grounds us. And we're made of electrons, so we have to admit we got energy. Like we're made of a lot of electrons. So we have to admit that we're made of energy. And it helps ground that energy, just like we would, in our electrical engineering, use ground and grounding wires. It grounds us. Then we orient to everything that's positive and healing for us, helpful, etc. So those 5 tenets guide and direct the way we experience our consciousness and energy within sanctuary. And the 4th tenet is that we're protected and safe, that source keeps us protected and safe because we ask for that protection. And mystically, we've always known that source is the greatest protection of all. So we harness that greatest protection as a source of protection. And the sanctuary itself, in being self-healing, harmonizing, balancing, grounding, and orienting, allows us to go as deep into consciousness as we want to, as deep into the plant medicine experience, and stay safe in it and guided and directed. And it's in that direct communion and communication with source.
And it's so applicable to the healing space, to the exploration space. It's so applicable when an emotion feels out of alignment, or someone feels like they're losing their grasp on what this release is coming out of them, to simply even just invoke sanctuary. Like, I invoke sanctuary. Harmonize this, heal this, ground this. Like, let's transform this. I've been able to use it outside of ceremony as well, in that same regards, when something's felt a little overwhelming. It's like, you know what? Let's just ground this in sanctuary. And I love those applications, even outside of the medicine space, but in the medicine space, giving us that complete and total freedom.
I think, like you were talking about, working with the Buddha in the medicine space, it helps make it real for us. It's not just an idea. It's not just imagination. It becomes really palpable, very real. And then we can start to use it outside of the medicine space as a mechanism of representing this connection. And so part of the difficulty is that we've been taught the idea of separation, the language of separation, the feelings of separation, but it's illusory. There really isn't any separation. There isn't separation between us right now. There's a connection, there's a conversation. But if we look at the earth as a field of atoms and molecules, we're actually connected by all the atoms and molecules. We're not separate by them. We're not separated by distances. We've made all that up. And so because of that, it has shaped the way we experience our consciousness. And sanctuary gives us a way to represent and understand the interconnectedness of life and the interconnectedness of all beings here of earth, all humans, and also plants and animals and everything else going on. And it can help us inside and outside of ceremony. Ceremony helps make it palpable and real for us. And then when it is, it's a tool we can use everywhere.
Oh man, here's a fun fact, but it has come up onto my awareness that it's about time for me to integrate away from the plant medicines for a couple months. And it's something I haven't done in years, is take several months in a row, just like completely off. And
how did that realization come about? That's interesting.
I have a channeler I work with. Shout out to Chris Hager, who's been on the podcast. And so you and I talked last month a little bit. I was sharing about the shape shifting that I was beginning to do with the dragons and the orcas. Then very quickly, I started to get some of my first clairaudience, which is psychic hearing. And you were the first one to come through in that way. Like, you had a message for me about class starting in 30 minutes. And I was like, what day is it? And it turned out it was supposed to be our first like peer group that night. And so some of that's been coming through. And so I connected with my channeler to be like, what's happening? And he had told me over the summer that there was a big plateau. A big ceiling I was about to break through in how I experience the world and how I show up in the world, like major shift. And he was like, oh, you're at the precipice of that now, it seems. And so we had a big conversation yesterday, and what came through from him, from my guides, was like, okay, you've seen how real it all is now. You've done enough of the work to renegotiate what I grew up with in my childhood, which was being told that this isn't true, this isn't real. And, decades of stuffing that down with that belief system have finally been enough rewired now that my work is to integrate these gifts that are opening up for me without the medicine, and to really drop into that.
That's amazing. How does that feel? God, how does that feel? I've taken breaks, just so we're clear, over 20 years of this. There are times that there are great breaks to have, and they've been really supportive and amazing. And there are many discoveries and gems and jewels that come through that experience. But I want to know what it feels like, thinking about going into that.
Yeah, well, as a insane psychonaut, not insane, as a calculated psychonaut, and a psychedelic facilitator myself. I love the medicine space. And so immediately I have lots of resistance to the idea. I'm like, oh, he's like, you should do an amount of time that just makes you a little uncomfortable. And the amount of time we were like, oh, I don't know about that. And I'm like, so is that like a month? And he's like, I think you should meditate on it. The answer is within. And a month makes me really uncomfortable, but also makes me sit with perhaps 2 months. And I'm like, well, could I just aim for a month and then revisit from there? Like extend it out once I'm comfortable that a month has been fine, which is perhaps seeking too much safety and not enough surrender. But I really value what's coming through. And through these, I mean, I have been like on a nonstop journey these last 2 weeks as Pluto went into Aquarius, and this massive unlocking happened for me around some core ideas of my childhood and opening my voice. And um, so I've really been going in and chanting this Om sound, and I realized my nervous system has gotten to like a complete homeostasis, a complete place of calm, to where I can now feel anytime I get nervous, to where an idea makes me feel unsafe. For the first time in my life, I'm able to resonate with what it feels like for someone to feel unsafe in their body. And so it keeps bringing me back to these things that while I was learning them, I was going, oh, holy shit, I can see how this can be done without the medicine. I'm watching how over oxygenating the body is producing DMT in my body. And that can be done without the medicine. I'm watching how the chanting is opening up the flow and really honing those vocal cords so that the words that are spoken carry so many more messages. They're encoded so much more with my truth, which is aligned with the gnosis and the heart. And so I'm like really excited actually also to step away from the medicine. He did warn me. He's like, the gifts they'll tone down before they'll tone back up. And just know that's a part of the process. But I'd love your input on, as a facilitator, and I have a couple, ceremonies planned in the next couple months, to facilitate without medicine or to facilitate with a microdose. What do you recommend when what you should be doing is in that state of lack of medicine, but yet you're the leader?
Yeah, it happens. There are times where you have different kinds of ceremonies planned, and it's just not appropriate at that time to work with the medicines and ingest them. And so the first thing is that we really go into that role of sitter. And it's an understanding that there's first the responsibility to the safety and well-being of everybody. And then you go deep into the connection that you have. You have this massive connection already. And you've had so many experiences by now to understand, the arc that the other person's going to go into, and to also connect with the subtleties of the energies that they're going to experience. And so you're able to meditate and get really centered and clear. And then you just start holding the space or facilitating or holding your ceremony just like you would if you had taken medicine. You do it exactly the same. You don't change your course or your path in any way, because it's not the substance doing it. It's the facilitation, it's the consciousness, and it's the energy of it. And there will be the nature of the substance of the plant medicine that the other person will be using. So it's there for them to be able to create the experience, and the person co-creates it with the plant. And so it really is a tool. You're honoring the tool, you respect the tool, and it's a great learning experience. And I think you'll be blown away, impacted by how positive it is, and also to give you the understanding of what you're really doing versus what it's doing. Because when you take it out of the picture, now you get to see really what you're doing. And then also to hear from the person their experience of that while in the visionary state themselves. And it can teach you a lot about the impact that you make on the space. And you just have to trust.
Yeah, it's beautiful advice. Thank you. And yeah, it's been complemented well with your teachings, as well as John Churchill's. I'm in his planetary Dharma, John and Nicole Churchill. really teaching us to drop more into that awareness. And the amount of meditation I've been doing has really opened up this field of um, knowing that and seeing the coding that we construct in the air and the holographic ways in which our words work, in which the way that we draw the space, in which the way that we send the energy. I'm beginning to see those things in the air, with and without medicine. Um, so that's is that an appropriate time to dieta even as well, or should dieta not even be in that sort of like space away?
Different kinds of dieta, right? It's a shift in what we're consuming in terms of a period of, and we're working with typically non-psychoactive plants. There are dietas with psychoactive plants, but most of the time it's a dieta with a non-psychoactive plant. And so you're not going to have a creation of an altered state. The purpose of the dieta is to transfer the essence of the plant into your body. And for people who haven't had the plant medicine experience or the psychedelic experience, it's hard to relate. But if you have and you look inside your body, you'll see fractals that go forever, right? And so you're seeding this plant essence into those fractals that go forever, and they're part of your consciousness. And it's just it's a known thing for those who have these experiences and navigate these realms. It's not a foreign concept. So it might be weird at first to hear it, but for those that have this experience, they store their knowledge in those fractals, in that light in their body. And so you're transferring this plant essence into you. And it has numerous benefits. And so I think it could be very powerful and very potent thing to do during this period of time. And typically it's a time of just deep communion and meditation. So most dietas are happened in isolation. You're in deep meditation the whole time. It's a great way to reground, and depending on the dieta, you can, modify the food or what you ingest. So, in the Amazon, they have just very specific foods that you eat. We have a program called the Trinity Dieta, and in there we teach you how to be able to use water fasts or eliminate parsley cleanse to be able to eliminate different kinds of toxins that are just common in modern environments from the body over a period of time. And we also have a superfood diet, which is kind of the opposite concept. It's a hypersaturation of the body of vitamins and minerals and nutrients during the time of the dieta. So you get the plant support, and then you also get all of the support to really boost the body. So I could think, it could be good to do like a fast during this time. And then from the fast, go into, a couple of days of fast, and then gradually and gently transition into like the superfood diet would be really amazing.
Yeah, every cell in my body right now is like, fuck yes. It sounds like a solid fuck yes.
Good. You get to work with the plants. It's just not going into the visionary / psychedelic state for a period of time, which is actually really good. So, there's a number of reasons why. One, you want the neurons to have a time to rest. Our neurons have all this kind of plasticity and kind of elasticity associated with them. And we're building this neural network, and we're altering it, utilizing these different kinds of visionary plants. And that's now being studied in science and proven. So, what we knew from the lineages is true, and now science is just corroborating it. And there comes a time when you want to let the brain just relax and rest. And so a 2-month period of time is a great period of time for that. And the brain grows during that time. You grow a new neural network, you grow this new connection. And it's a beautiful time to continue to work with the plants, just not in the psychoactive way. And we want to get to the point where we can have the same connection we have with the plants outside of ceremony as we have inside ceremony. Inside ceremony, we're always going to have the light show and, the great, incredible experience that we love so much. But outside of ceremony, we want to have the same level of connection. And a big part of that is in the healing arts. Most of the time, you're called to do your healing practice outside of ceremony. Someone needs your help in the morning and you're not in ceremony, and you need to be able to intervene and support and help them. So you learn to be able to perform different kinds of cleansings, different kinds of sound baths, different kinds of ikaro, and be able to heal people and help people with that without in that moment ingesting the plants. And so this is a great time to practice all of that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's something that's coming through me as well as an alteration in my healing method. And normally I sort of channel what needs to come through for them, but I'm being guided to do more to bring into this like dimensional reality. And yeah, it's been coming through not on the medicine as well. And I'm curious because of the other sounds I've been learning to make. Can you overtone? Do you harmonic chant? Is that in your wheelhouse?
I just think there's emergent phenomena that happens inside these experiences. So I'm not sure what I would call it, but all of a sudden there's sounds inside sounds, inside sounds, inside sounds. There's geometric shape of sound. There's tunnels of sounds with other reverberation inside it. There's harmonics that take place. There are like really almost like tuning fork sounds that come through. In these, very robust kind of tunnels of sound. And so, yeah, that happens. And when it happens, you can't even believe you're making the sound. You don't know where the sound's coming from, right? It's not sitting there like you think you're belting out like an 80s ballad or something into the sky. Like it's not really like that. It's like you're in this deep trance and these sounds come out and it doesn't even sound like they're being made by the throat. It sounds like they're from the chest. They're reverberance through the body. It's always amazing. Even hearing them's interesting because they warp and wobble and then become really, really clear. And I think when that happens, I always feel like I know that that's when the energy is really flowing, when is really aligned, and you can feel it getting there, right? That kind of the nudge and pull and adjustment that's taking place and energetically is so strong, even though from the outside it doesn't probably look like much, but inside the body, like you really feel it. Like things don't feel aligned. Like you said, your heart can feel like it's on one side, and you feel these movements, and then little by little, everything just aligns, and then all of those sounds and the harmonics and stuff come out.
Yeah, yeah. I've had the experience with some of my clients before where I'm in that deep trance channeling, and then I hear myself hitting pitches that I would swear to you I cannot sing.
Mm-hmm.
And being like, wow, that is so okay, don't stop. Like that's what this person needs. I see where it's going. We're releasing that, we're sending that away. Like um, powerful. So I really appreciate your thoughts on the sound aligning that. And one thing that I found really surprising too was, um, I find the cannabis to be I'm learning that cannabis is a really powerful teacher. And when ketamine and cannabis combine, they kind of make their own new, different offshoot of a medicine. Um, but it guided me through so much body work before I could even get to the alignment because it turned out I had like my scapula was locked on my back and it's been like that for years. Both of my shoulders were missing rotation in places, unlocking hips and hearing the body pop and click into place and then being guided to give my own chiropractic adjustments on the floor just by laying down, feeling the spine click, and then it'd be like, turn your head, and it would just like push and then, brah, and I was like, that was stuck. Beautiful. Like, thank you for the alignment. And then everything opens. And,
Ted, what's that for you? A typical way of experiencing cannabis and ketamine? Like how do you ingest it? What's the dose that you're working with? I'm fascinated by this. A lot of people are talking about it.
yeah, well, I know you have some ketamine in your possession because I gave it to you. So, have you gotten a chance to explore it yet?
I've had experiences with ketamine, and I have had really incredible experiences. Um, I have not had the experience of ketamine and cannabis together, which is one of the reasons why I'm so interested in it. I've explored ketamine and other medicines together, and it's a very powerful medicine. It's a very potent experience, and I think for some people they can be a little scared of thinking about it at first, but it's the opposite. Just prepare, and as you start to feel onset, which is for me very quick, you just immediately just kind of just turn off fear, just turn it down. Like it's pretty easy. And then just go right in. It's just been a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Even easier, I think, to turn off that fear on ketamine.
Mm.
The way that I really look at it is like it's an anesthetic, and it takes the ego offline, and in larger and larger doses, the ego completely goes offline and pure consciousness comes online. And that's this beautiful healing space in large doses, which I love, and in what I call more therapeutic doses, which are what I've been taking for the ketamine and cannabis. Um, I have a measuring spoon that I guess there's a technical measurement called a drop. And so this is a drop spoon, and I generally fill it about halfway with ketamine powder, and that's snorted. And then I've really discovered the beauty in having fresh hits of cannabis every time. So I put a fresh nug that'll give me about 2 puffs on a bowl and smoke that, and then go in. And I find it takes maybe about 30 minutes, and I'll do another round. And then that's when I really drop into the magic of the mix of the ketamine and cannabis. Before then, they still kind of have their own little individual identities. But on starting with that second round, about 20, 30 minutes in, they completely combine. And I find it much more resonant with like DMT
Hmm.
and the intelligence, which perhaps DMT is just much more representative of the intelligence of pure creationism. And that's what I find in that space. So things like guiding me on an epic quest to release my body in with checkpoints that are things that really compel me to be like, okay, fine, I'll keep breathing. Every time I want to give up, it's like, oh, but here's this dangling carrot that's the thing that you dream of the most in life. If you do this, you'll have that. And I'm like, okay, I'll keep going. And and then realizing that was just simply the quest. But then the unlocking happens, and through the humming almost contains its own divine intelligence, where my body would just slowly then move into the next thing until I'm wound up in prayer position as the Buddha, and then the temple opens, and I could feel how um, the body positions were discovered in Buddhism, where they actually channel the energy, why the hands go here, and what they see where the energy goes. And it just was like those fucking Buddhists, like they were spot on. And I believe they used a lot of plant medicine as well, but to combine that with the knowledge that they have that they've been sharing for so long has been a true gift to receive. A very
That's
beautiful gift.
beautiful. Yeah. What are the visuals like? What's kind of like that part of it? Colors, patterns, geometry, dimensionality. What do you see? What do you experience?
Lots of colors. I went back and forth. There was a lot of light leaking in through my eyelids. So I got a blackout mask, and then there was a lot of light leaking in through that. So I was trying to get pure darkness. In pure darkness, there would be a lot more subtle colors. I get a lot of, what would you describe this? Like a viscous shadow over what you would see in reality. So see you, but then it would almost be like a bubble would be over it, of a viscous sort of texture that would be moving and making shapes. And then oftentimes there would be pinks, there would be yellows, there would be whites. You get a lot of greens and blues. And then when I would get to a point where I could actually look at my light body and see every single energy point on my body of every energy system, and which ones were illuminated, which ones had gone a little dark, I was able to go in and reconnect parts that had gone, I accidentally like undid some of my Botox on my face, which was kind of annoying that that happened. But true honesty, full reveal. And so those were often like gold and white. I had another moment where I brought the full masculine energy back online on my right side, and that was like a yellowish shift. And when I brought the feminine back online, that was more of a white shift. And so then looking at my own body, and with my eyes closed, being able to see my own light body without my eyes open, a lot of yellow, white. Yeah, a lot of yellow, white.
So
Um,
beautiful.
but then there were some other things before getting to that point. So it was almost like there would be the quest. And then when I would come out of the quest, that would be when I'd get to the light body and a lot more of the body work. But before that, I would kind of go through these checkpoints of interacting with different beings, being taught different things. I was audio recording, so I would try to sneak out notes every so often about like, oh, this is the third time I've seen the tree people. Remember the ancient ones. But like as soon as I sneak it out, then it's like they go away, and I'm like, shit, I've lost them now, and I'm on to something else. Um, like there was a moment that they were teaching me what was happening to my vocal cords and how the encoding of sound works in our vocal cords. And they invited me to start to shapeshift into other animals to make their sounds. And I was right about to shift into an orca and start making orca sounds. And I started being like, they're going to let me make orca sounds. And then it all washed away. And I was like, no. So very, very fun, very
It's
visual,
amazing.
less of like the what are we trying to say? Less of the sacred geometry and more
Mhm.
clear visuals.
Beautiful. A lot of people are scared of cannabis because of,
Mm.
paranoia and fears and feeling, disjointed and stuff. How does the ketamine reaction with cannabis, change those kinds of effects?
Oh my gosh, I think ketamine just knocks fear down. Fear is the antithesis of love, right? It's like
Yeah.
the literal exact opposite end of the spectrum. And so it's that constriction that causes the fear. And in ketamine, you just let go. And it's also paired nicely with the cannabis because the cannabis is very body relaxing. So you're kind of got this medicine that's asking you to relax and this other one that's asking you to relax. And when you get the both of them intertwined, it just feels like this warm, beautiful, fluid space of which I was even able to watch the reaction in our body of trust. And so moving through the process at the speed of trust, moving through relaxing the body with the breath and with the humming and noting when the body wasn't ready to trust the next push and having to come back, take another deep breath, recenter, allow for the expansion, and then move through getting a muscle straightened out, kind of thing.
Incredible. That's a fascinating experience with that. Well, now you're going to have a break. So are you going to have a chance to do it again before the break, or is this like
Yeah, yeah.
when does the cold turkey start? When does this whole break start?
I'm thinking February 1st. I got a bit more work that I'd like to do on
Okay.
ketamine and cannabis. I'm doing a parasite cleanse right now, which you may remember the rash I had from the January and the
Hmm.
summer retreats. I got this crazy rash that we couldn't explain,
Yeah.
and someone got in my head about it being parasites, which made sense why the methylene blue was helping when I got home. But I still to this day haven't fully kicked it. It's bounced around my body. It's been treated with steroid creams and methylene blue. I've done everything but go to the actual doctor about it. So I'm on a parasite cleanse now, hoping to like get to the full root of it. So my diet is real minimal as well, and but my body's being cleansed of all these things right now as all these messages are coming through. So it's this very divine timing that I want to explore a little bit more of before I go cold turkey.
Are you going in tonight? Tonight we're going into an ayahuasca ceremony.
Ooh, I'll see you there then. Yeah.
That'll be fun. We had a
I'm curious.
brilliant ayahuasca ceremony 2 nights ago.
Ooh,
Just
do
brilliant.
tell.
Yeah. Oh, it was just it was incredible. It was a sanctuary ceremony, and the moment that I think was most potent and powerful about it was at the invocation of spirit, really during onset. And often you'll hear sound in ayahuasca, you'll hear sound get louder. And you hear the cacophony and the symphony of the forest the whole time. And the sound just we called the spirit in, and the sound got louder, and then it got louder, and then merged into a field of sound. You couldn't distinguish one sound from another. It was just a field of vibration. And then all that vibration became color, and it became sacred geometry, and it was moving. And then it was fascinating. Within 10 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, it went full vision, eyes wide open, eyes wide closed vision, no eyes vision, no body vision, no physicality of anything vision. And then it just went into stasis of pure spirit. Just incredible. It took 10 seconds. That was just incredible. That was just like, what a ride. That was incredible. It's like just bam. Yeah. And then it was there, and spirit was just huge at that point. And the divine came in and the communication was there. And then the next about 3 hours was just pure medicine and bliss and joy and transformation. And it was just an incredible experience. But that over 10 seconds, when we called spirit, and spirit just awakened in the space, and that unification of vision from all these different senses that we have, where our sight and sound and taste and touch aren't all aligned, all of a sudden just aligned into one. And then we just blew right through this differentiation of different kinds of vision into just consciousness. And we just stayed there for hours. It was brilliant. I hope tonight will be similar.
Yeah. Now, is that more of a reflection of where everyone in the room is on their journey, that there's perhaps not like massive trauma escaping at that time? Or is that more of a just what channeled through you in that moment to hold for that night?
That was an interesting opportunity, the whole ceremony. It was a small group, so there's just about 6 or 7 of us. It was a private little event we were having. And I invoked, and another participant invoked when she invoked, and then I invoked again. The combination was just great. It was a brilliant moment, and it brought it forth. And the ability for others to sustain that state of consciousness was difficult for them, so they kind of purged. So some people purged pretty strong at that moment. This got kind of, they were not ready to fully transcend being and body and ego and everything else. So, I found it to be just an incredible liberation in that moment. And in some ways it was very intense. And so some purged, but we all agreed that it did not take more than 10 seconds for spirit to just fully infuse that ceremony in holy vibration and divinity.
I love the identification that there's the Hamilton perspective of how beautiful and lovely, and then the participant perspective of holy shit, okay, here it goes.
Yeah, get used to it. I mean, there's an opportunity to learn how to really enjoy that kind of an onset, because it's not as progressive. It's just sudden, it just happens immediately. But it was beautiful. Everyone the next day said it was incredibly beautiful, just that physically they couldn't, assimilate it at that speed. So some of them purged because of that. They had to let go of some, what we'd think of as lower vibrational energies, or, some blockages that allowed then consciousness to awaken for them. But I think everyone agreed the next day that there was true direct connection, direct communion with source, and that spirit was not just a phenomena, but omnipresent through the entire experience.
And you've been doing this for over 20 years now. I'm curious, what are you seeing come through for the collective? What sort of message, or what are people releasing? What is a shift that you're seeing at this time?
The collective is going through a tremendous evolution. It always is, but right now in history, it's going through a great evolution. And sometimes we want to focus on the dystopian narrative or the negatives and stuff like that. A lot of people personalize that in their own trauma story, and they're trying to heal that and do better. And others look to a more global perspective of what they see is going on in the world and are concerned about it. But what I think happens is that in the times of greater chaos or greater darkness and difficulty, the evolution comes through very unique channels and grows within that space. And so that's what I see is really happening, is that there's a psychedelic renaissance taking place. And as that's happening, consciousness is being invited into the collective awareness. When I started 20 years ago, the word consciousness was not only not used, but it was also completely misunderstood. So if anyone ever uttered it, no one knew what anyone was talking about. And now it's becoming a common word. And the names of the plant medicines are becoming common as well. So the effect that they're having on consciousness, which is subconscious, sub unconscious in psychology. This is deeper in us, is happening. And that's where I see this emergent capacity for evolution to take place and bring forth I think a renaissance, not just in the sense of psychedelic renaissance, but a greater renaissance that comes from that. And conversations are changing and thoughts are changing, and it's positive, and it's about improvement and seeing a greater perspective and transcending some of the more negative aspects of the ego and becoming better people. And that's happening. And so I think to myself, how does that grow over time? The dystopia narrative has been going on the whole time. At least in my 45 years, it's been going on the whole time. So to see this emergent narrative, this co-creative narrative, one about consciousness and medicine and healing take place, and then from that greater creativity, innovation is, I think, a new phenomenon. I'm bullish on it. I think it has a lot of power and a lot of capacity to help transform the world. And I hope that Sanctuary can be part of it, and people will see the value in Sanctuary and want to learn more about it. And I think that's all part of a great awakening that's taking place now.
And for anyone who wants to deepen their understanding of Sanctuary with you, what is the best way for them to work with you?
Yeah, the best way is to contact us through social media, through our Instagram, Hamilton Souther or Blue Morpho Retreats, or find us on Facebook, Hamilton Souther and Blue Morpho Retreats as well, and our website, bluemorphotours.com, bluemorphoacademy.com, and hamiltonsouther.com.
And I'll have those all linked up in the show notes for anyone who's listening and interested. And I'm so happy and grateful to be going on this ride of transcending consciousness with you. You have been just the biggest gift in my life, and I'm so grateful for the knowledge and the work that you've done and what you share with the world to really help usher in this new era of better humans. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Barrett. It's a pleasure. Much love to you.